It is another rugby weekend, but not your usual Kenya Cup matches, but rather the Enterprise Cup playoffs, where the winner advances to the next stage of the game.
With the Enterprise Cup being one of the oldest rugby competitions in Kenya, first played in 1930. This is a game between the Kenya Cup finalists Menengai Oilers and Impala Saracens.
Welcome to our panel discussion of today, and our guest of today is a very familiar name to you guys, and he is a legend and also a rugby icon when it comes to Kenya rugby fraternity. And also, just to let him introduce himself, Jesse Onsando.
Thank you, Harold. My name is Onsando, Jesse. I'm many years old, but I've been playing this game or involved in this game for close to 50 years now. Started out in high school, then Queens, then national team, and so on. And I've been involved in various capacities. I've been involved as a referee, I've been involved as a coach, and I've been involved as a trainer, basically, in rugby.
Okay, Onsando, welcome to Oilers TV. I want you to take us way back, your rugby days. How was that like for you?
It was fun. My rugby started out in high school. I went to Nairobi School. Nairobi School was then basically a rugby school back in the 70s. We played second fiddle to Lenana, but we don't say that too loudly because they were a very strong rugby team. But I started out in Form 1. And back then, the rugby schools were few. We had Nairobi School, Lenana, RVA, Nairobi International School. But within the schools, there were many teams. So you actually got to play rugby during the rugby season. You either played for the junior teams all the way up to the first team. We had 6 teams, 6 school teams. And whenever we played a school, they would bring in 6. 3 would go and play away, 3 would play at home. So there was a lot of interaction in the rugby fraternity back in the 70s. There were fewer schools playing, not like now. There's a lot of schools playing, but they seem to have been quite. That's when rugby started.
And now, just talking from the point of growth and diversification of our game, can you take us through your days of rugby and probably the challenges and things that have grown from then to now?
Yeah, after school, a lot of the students, basically those who went to university, for instance, had nowhere to play. After school, those who left school and went up country, there was very few clubs. The clubs were mostly concentrated in Nairobi in the 70s. There was Impala Club, Nondescripts, and Mwamba and New Machine came later. In fact, the impetus to form those clubs came from those who were leaving school and not having lots of outlets. I mean, Min Machine was formed in 77. That was by basically my age mates who left school, went to Nairobi University, and had to find a means to continue playing rugby. That's where Edebe, Kulu, the likes. They're all people who have played. I mean, people like who are legends in this game, like Omaido and Walter Omaido and the Omaido brothers, Jacko, went straight from school to playing at Nondis before they came to Queens. There was not many avenues, and that's what formed Min Machine. That's what informed the formation of Mwamba later. afternoon machine, and that created now an avenue for a lot of the people coming up to play. The older clubs that had been formed were Wazungu's, Kina Eldoret and Nanyuki, Mombasa Sports Club, were revived later. Even Nakuru NSC had a rugby team, but that had died, and this had to be revived back in the 80s by people coming from Nairobi who had been transferred down there to play rugby. So my journey basically was from high school. I did not go to Nairobi University. I went to school abroad. I played rugby in the US. And when I came back straight to Queens. And basically, I think I trained once at Mwamba one day and then came to Queens, and I've never played anywhere else other than Queens in all those years.
Jesse, you come from a family of rugby men, people who they eat, sleep, drink rugby. How was that for you like, and what's the story behind that?
It's okay. We all went to the same school. Maybe that's where they picked it up. But we've all enjoyed rugby, like, basically. And if you actually look at the rugby circles, you'll find that there's brothers. I mean, the Munyafus, the Omaidos, the Kimweles. You will always find a bunch of brothers playing rugby. I think when one plays, they sort of pick, or the others want to follow it through. So we've been involved in rugby, as I said, from the 70s, both as players and administration and other things, coaches, and we've enjoyed that ride. I was just telling Harold earlier on that Ham, who's my youngest brother, was almost critical in the revival of rugby in Nakuru when he was transferred. He went to work for Elliott's in Nakuru, and him and some friends, Kinalari and others, got together and said, we can play rugby here and see where that has gone. Nakuru is a big club. Menengai Oilers came from Nakuru. So that happens, and it's a good thing.
And now still in your family, now you have your sons playing rugby. How exciting is it?
Yeah, my son plays at Queens. My two sons actually play at Queens. And my son actually plays in the same position I used to play. He's a lock. And Malcolm, who's Ham's son, is now playing professional rugby. But that's the same thing. If you look at, say, Max Munyafu, his son played it. Sons pick up, like everything else. And it's a fun game. I mean, I used to bring my sons here when they were 4 or 5 years old, so it's not something they just pick up as good.
What do you think triggers that? What do you think triggers them to play lock and fly half?
No, it's skill level. My youngest son is number 10. I've never played a back.
Okay.
So it's the skill level and what you have. The son who plays lock is taller than me, he's big. I mean, Malcolm is easily the tallest person in Kenya rugby right now. So it's the skill level they pick and what they train at. It's not automatic. Yeah.
And just taking you again back to your days, we've heard of Watembezi chase setters. Can you just tell us more about the Watembezis?
Watembezi,
and how it came about?
It's okay. I'm probably not the right person to talk about Watembezi because I wasn't in the founding people, but Watembezi was, as it says, people who travel. The ability to tour and go places was not easily available to a lot of rugby players. And there was invites out there to be had. You might not be aware of this, that Watembezi, they won what is now called the Dubai Sevens. They won that cup, I think, 4 or 5 times or something, and even got to keep the trophy because they've won it so many times. They were the ones who opened up that avenue to the Middle East. The Watembezi, I think, was an idea by people like Shadow Diambo, Dennis, Tom Okech, that they needed to have a group of people who could take the game out and also give opportunity to a lot of our young black players an opportunity to travel and expose themselves to challenge international rugby, which was not available back in the 70s and the early 80s. Our basic tours in the 70s used to be basically the Tuskers tour, which was the East Africa side, and that did not create that much opportunity for many people to travel.
And just now to add on to your take on now the corporate involvement in sports now and how it was back then in your days.
It's interesting. We had a lot of corporate involvement in keeping our clubs going, because our clubs were social clubs. A club like Queens was a social club. A club like Impala was a social club. We got sponsorships from corporates, partly from friends who know somebody who knows somebody. You go and talk and say, okay, right, we can support you. I know like Queens, for instance, had, through the 80s, relationship with ICL, with Express Kenya as a company, with NAS group of companies, who supported in very many ways. Either they will support in providing cash for transport or providing services, just to keep the club going. The difference that has come in as the game has grown is that the demands from the players have become more. When I played, we didn't even think about insurance. Now it's now it's a must that you must have insurance. That costs. The amount of travel that the players have to undertake is a lot. The players require transport. They require allowances. They ask for allowance. They need to be sustained. Yeah. So it's become a challenge for, say, social clubs like Impala, Nondis, Queens, to attract sufficient sponsorship to sustain the running. Institutional clubs don't have that problem. KCB, the bank, will support whatever they need to do. Menengai will support. Kabras, West Kenya Sugar will support. That kind of thing. But the social clubs have that challenge that they do need to get corporate involved in their systems, get sufficient resources, sell their game so that they can support the playing base. And maintaining a player base, now if you have to take a big club, you need a player base of close to 100 people. So to support those people throughout the season is quite a challenge. But there are corporates who are coming through. I mean, it's getting them to give a commitment that's long-term enough for you to plan. I mean, there was a big problem when Sportspesa, for instance, withdrew a lot of support. Clubs had to struggle to sustain themselves. You take the challenge during like the COVID period, where I think the union had to drop certain teams because there wasn't enough cash to keep.
Yeah, and still at that question that Harold asked, what do you think, how has rugby changed with regards to how it was played previously? And in your own opinion, like how is it played now that it's different?
I think the main thing would be, one asks about the commitment of the players, because when I played, you gave yourself to rugby. Rugby did not seek you out, so you played because you wanted to play. Now, because it's professional, I mean, if I had the resources at Queens, I can raid Menengai and take your top players because I will pay them.
That's
so you sometimes, you can question the commitment to a club because you move around a lot. I mean, and the clubs that have resources seem to do better because they are able to keep their players happier. But that's the challenge of administration. If you're going to run a rugby club, as a committee, you have that challenge to get the resources and the commitment to your club by the players.
And just to expound on that point, do you believe that as a country we are getting to that point that we are becoming more of a professional side rather than being the amateur or semi-professional?
That is a question we have sort of thrown around, and understand some of the issues. I mean, why should Safaricom give Impala or Kenya Rugby 20 million, yet they will still pay tax on it? There's been the argument that if you're going to make social commitments to sports, for instance, maybe the government needs to give you a tax break on that kind of money so that your commitment is not 20 million here and then 20 million is again taxed as income and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I understand that that matter has been back and forth in government. That will help. If I knew that there is benefit to me as a corporate, other than the exposure, there is also benefit to me in my bottom line for donating or making a commitment to a club, I'd probably be more glad to make that commitment. And I understand that it's a matter that's been looked at, but it's never come out clearly. Other countries, that's where they've gone. The sponsorship they make does not come out of their bottom line. So it helps in that respect. And those are the rules and regulations that can help corporates put out more than they're putting out now. Even smaller corporates. I mean, if I wanted to donate to Impala or Menengai 100,000, and I knew that that would not affect my small company in that I would get a tax break from it, I would more likely do it. But now, unless I'm doing it kichini, it won't. It doesn't help. So those are kind of things that probably would assist.
So they need to be like an agreement, or rather,
It needs to be.
Understanding.
It needs to be a situation where whatever you donate is treated differently by the authorities in taxes and other things, so that it doesn't hurt you. I mean, I'm not taking out of my profits to give to Queens, that kind of thing.
So it's definitely more of a wholesome responsibility, not
No,
only from the corporate side,
and you see, when you see, take even our sevens or our Simbas, for instance, it's pointless, for instance, for when they go to State House to be given the flag, ndio wanapewa cheki ya 2 million. Hiyo cheki ya 2 million, hiyo cheki ya 2 million ingepewa when they are preparing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they should be given, or they should know that it's there, so that when they are budgeting their preparations, it comes in. It doesn't help them to prepare badly because they don't have resources. Then you give it to them wakati wanaenda.
And from the challenges you talked about with regards to resources and supports, what do you think is the future of community clubs right now in Kenya?
The community clubs will struggle, but I think there's enough goodwill. I mean, as I said, a club like Queens, we've managed. We get enough goodwill out there. There's corporates that will support you. You may not be as competitive in terms of getting the player base, but you look at the schools and the amount of people who are coming into play. There's enough people to share around. I mean, Menengai with its resources cannot have 20 teams. It will only field 2 teams. So where will the others go? They'll have to play somewhere else, and we'll find a balance. I don't think the challenge in the last 2 years has been, there's been a lot of economic challenges, but I don't think, for instance, a club like Queens or Mwamba will necessarily struggle that much. There will always be a corporate that is willing to put its name on your shirts because it's a good brand. Most of the clubs, Mwamba, Queens, Impala, they're good brands. And they can sell the brand and get resources to sustain a club. It would be good if the government was creating an environment where that was easier. But as I said, from way back in the 70s, we've always had corporates that have supported us. So I don't think that is as big as a challenge as we'd like. It is a challenge, but it's not as big a challenge as we'd like to say. It's not what is affecting the game, let me put it that way.
No, just coming up to now the categories that we have here in Kenya, especially now with the Kenya Cup, ESS, the Enterprise, the Momba Cup. Were they there back then in your days, and how did they, if they were there, how did they come about?
Okay, Kenya Cup has always been there. Enterprise is one of the oldest competitions. Those have always been there. The Eric Shirley came about as a second tier, because when you're running a team, you have a second team. So Eric Shirley was the second team competition for the Kenya Cup side. So those have always been there. The ones that have evolved in the 80s and 90s is it championship? What's it called?
Championship and the nationwide.
The nationwide and championship. And that is a good thing, because the only thing is they have to be rationalized in a way that if you're at nationwide, when you rise to the next level, you come into... So, but when you're playing Kenya Cup, for instance, and you have two sides, there's another one playing Eric Shirley. When your team that's playing Eric Shirley wins Kenya Cup, wins Eric Shirley, where does it go? It doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. So there's a rationale. There has to be a rationalized second-tier competition for those teams, so that there's always people challenging. I was a bit taken aback when, for instance, this season there was no Eric Shirley played by the Kenya Cup sides. That made it very hard for clubs to create competition within themselves in terms of when you have a squad of 50, how do they compete? Because do I run to another club where I can play Kenya Cup? Because here, I'm not getting an opportunity to play. So that was a bit of a challenge. And the union needs to look at it and make sure that when there's a Kenya Cup competition, the Kenya Cup sides have a second-tier competition. If they're going to change it, then they make sure that those second-tier competitions are playing in the nationwide or whatever it is they want them to play.
Okay, and so coming now to today's game, what do you think about today's game with regards to Oilers and the boys from Impala?
Let me put it this way. There's no reason Oilers shouldn't win.
Okay.
But you're coming off a hard game in Kabras, in Kakamega.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the boys are at, whether they are disappointed and didn't train well, or where there's still a hunger to win. Enterprise Cup used to be it's a very competitive competition, but because it's a one-off. You basically going in, you Kichapwa, you're gone. The season is done. The season is done.
Yeah.
So that you need to get I've won in my playing, I think I've won one Enterprise in 88, 87. And the reason we won in 87 is we came in, I think, runners-up or something in Kenya Cup. And we were a bunch of people who were saying, hii lazima, hii ni mwisho. And a few of the guys we were playing with were retiring that year. And they said, we have to go out in a bang, let's win Enterprise. It is one of the oldest competitions, very prestigious, because it's a knockout. Ni kama FA Cup.
Yeah.
You have to play hard. And yeah, you can be taken down by a very weak, what you consider a weak side. Because if you're slacky, you're gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think now that's it for discussion for today.
I think another competition where we have to put our best foot forward and try and chase silverware. A quick turnaround from last weekend from the final. I think It's just been prudent that we've selected players that we all felt that are much fresher. Most of the guys that played on Saturday, we've given them a rest, but we believe we had the boys have the ability to go out, come out and give us a good performance. They've been training hard, we've been training together. So yeah, it will be an exciting fixture. Impala, a very tough team. I think they played extremely well the last game of the season. It's unfortunate that they've been relegated, but again, they're very, very worthy opponents. So we look at dominating the set pieces first of all, and then playing territorially, and then pressurizing them in their green zone, and then making sure that we get the points out of there. So yeah, we're excited. We're looking forward to it. Yeah. So yeah, the boys. I believe the boys are ready.
I think the preparation has been good throughout the week. The coaches have put up a good strategy today. The team is ready. The lads are fired up. They're so ready to take on Impala. So I think the strategy has been good. The week has been well. The preparation has been equally well. So I think the only thing is to go there and execute everything that you have been practicing throughout here.
And we understand that winner takes it all in this case. So how is that for you?
Yeah, it comes with pressure. It has that pressure of it's a knockout stage. So I think every point on the board we're gonna take it, and yeah, it's a pressure game. We have to give it that. It's a pressure game, so I think it's gonna be okay for us. Yeah.
Our preparations have been somewhat protracted, but decent enough, I think. Of course, we have a lot of respect for Oilers. Last time we played, they beat us. Over the years, I know we used to, get one over them, but certainly they have a very improved team. They've done some good work up there in Nakuru, Kenya Cup runners-up. So we have a lot of respect for them, and we are hoping to give a good account of ourselves today.
Our preparation to today's game is just doing what we do best, playing the ball day in, day out, and wait and see the results.
Okay, and your mood of the players over the week?
The boys are psyched up. I can say it's a new type of league. It's knockout stages. So yeah, we are psyched up, and all we can do is just do the best and see what will be the results at the end of the game.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have it douse, not what I'm about, have your cloud, it be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. 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 Cause I just wanna hear it out your mouth, yeah. Give me fuel, it's a tool that I use to go ahead and run my mouth, yeah. I take shots, I take loss, I make shots, I miss lots. That's how you get big box, you get yachts, you swing lots and pop off a big shot. I ain't done chasing, got big dreams, bigger things, impatient. Who's at the top think they need replacement? Who's at the top think I'm gonna erase, let's face it. I don't give up quick, I don't give up shit, I won't give up this. Cause I know that I want it, know that I'm on it, I'll make it, I promise. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. 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 Cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains, I'm the boss, I'm making change. I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things, gonna make a f***ing name. I just wanna be famous, but I don't want that cheap fame. No, I'm not that vain, I just wanna be greatness. 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 Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste me, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate me, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Okay, I'm going off every chance I get. I don't really take a loss, well, I'll admit. That's why I'll make it to the top, yeah, I commit. And no, I'm never getting lost, I get after it. Investing in my own stock, cause it's faster than any crypto hits go, let me spend. Everything that you see is something I invent, and it's only a percent. I'm gonna take shots, if I miss all, forget it. I'll take a fat loss just to learn all that's in it. I'm taking snapshots, learning how to fall and get it. I'm getting back up, always stand tall, don't sweat it. I never back up, I don't miss a thing or regret it. I'm always learning, you could call me academic. I'm always working, never been apathetic. Bad energy is like a poison, needs some antiseptic. Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste me, you can try me. If you wanna hate bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fight me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste me, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate me, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love.
I must give credit to Impala, were just composed. They took their chances, and yeah, that's why they won the game. Basically, a lot of changes coming from the last team. Basically, what has shown us that we have depth, but the gap between the guys who play consistently and the guys who don't play is quite huge. So I think the task on us is just to make sure that we know that gap, and the players are able to play consistently well. So it's been one of those seasons where I'm quite happy with the overall performance. We definitely wanted to go all out and win the enterprise, but we'll pick the lessons from this game. We'll review the whole season itself. Look at the areas that we did well. How can we make them better? Areas that we did not do as well, improve them, and I believe we'll come back a much better side. So I'm excited by the prospect that 2022-23 holds for us. I'm excited, I'm scared, so it's a mix of both, but I'm generally happy.
The game was a bit tough. Impala came out on top. A bit disappointing from us, but it's sports, yeah. We'll work from there and see how it goes.
Moving on, what are the changes we're expecting?
It's going to be a good season next season. A pretty good team coming on, and we're sure we're going to get to another level that we got from the previous year. Yeah.